I'm a entrepreneur, real estate investor, exotic car collector, watch collector. I've got real estate investments that I focus on. Basically come to the shop because I enjoy the cars, I enjoy the passion still. As long as I have time for my hobbies, my passions, it's the only way to be able to, work and conduct business. When the business consumes you, you don't have time for everything else. It doesn't become fun anymore, Well, I've been into watches since I was young, but couldn't afford them, so that's always the trick. I started with on vacation. I remember I bought a two-tone Daytona. I was in Aruba. I got back, I bought a Submariner, and slowly started to, to build them up. My favorite brand right now is definitely Richard Mille. I mean, the brand to me was introduced to me by a friend of mine who's a very large RM collector. He got me into it about 5 or 6 years ago. When I first started getting into them, again, it was very expensive for me. I said, a lot of times I will research and fall in love and be attached to something even though I can't afford it. But then once I was able to, it was like a dream come true because, if you follow the brand, their whole mantra is, the racing machine for the wrist, which you get equated to, me racing on the track and me with my cars, and it just went hand in hand, And once you start learning about what's involved with these guys, how they produce the watches and the materials and the sapphires and the movements, it's just something that's amazing, opposed to just something telling time. And back then they were hard to get, but not as hard to get, but I walked in and it was sitting in the showcase, and I had an 1101 at the time that I bought used from a friend of mine. And when I saw it, I immediately called up another guy and I'm like, hey, do you want to buy my 1101? I got a great deal for you. He's like, I don't know what. So we negotiated. Once I negotiated, I knew I could sell the old one. I ran right into the boutique and said, all right, give it to me. Sold. And that was when I started my RM relationship. From there, I went to the 67. Well, this is originally produced for the race car drivers so that they have something that's super duper light when they're, moving their steering wheels. And also the shock rating on this, I forget the exact number, if it's 2 Gs or 3 Gs, it's something crazy. Most of the RMs, for example, that like the Nadals, the tennis players, when they hit that racket with the force they do, the watch is able to absorb the shock and carry it through. And the same with this watch. It was meant for the F1 race car drivers, which those guys, if you watch the documentaries, they've got crazy G-forces pressing on them all the time. And the watch is meant to take all that plus more and not skip even a microsecond. So aside from the fact that it's super duper light, weighs like literally nothing, it's not even probably a piece of paper weighs more than this, is that it's not immediately recognized as an RM like today. With this watch here, the average person doesn't know it's an RM. Now, the popularity of this watch has gotten bigger. When I first ordered it, I would wear this watch out like a normal thing, a sweatpants and a t-shirt in the summer, and people sometimes they go, well, what is that? They'll see the movement going, but they didn't really hit what it was. It's just a great daily, and you can wear it every single day and then not worry about it, I'd say. Whenever I actually go to RM to visit, they always see me wearing this one, and I tell them this watch leaves. I said when I go into the casket, this goes with me. This gets buried with me. So when I ordered that, I also said to them, hey, what else do you have maybe in the women's, because you have to do a tit for tat. Well, at first she didn't know what it was, that's the problem about it. I didn't want to tell her what the cost was either, because that kind of gets her nervous. But when she found out it was, $250,000, and then she refused to wear it. So it became I think she wore it twice. She refused to put it on. She's afraid of something happening. What if this happens? What if that happens? And, just leave it alone. Take it back. And I'm like, we're not taking it back. We're keeping it. So if you want to stare at it, but it's not going back to the store, I do that a lot. If, she has a car and it's, she doesn't want an upgrade, but I want an upgrade, I'll do the same thing. So it's like a double purchase. But everything they produce is so beautiful. Even the 07 with the inlaid diamonds and the carbon, it's incredible. It doesn't have to be a man's watch for me to love it. All their new ceramic stuff also, it's some point. A 7-year-old who's a car nut, knows every car you could ever imagine. He'll tell you what's McLaren, this horsepower, that's that. I take him to the dealership. They go crazy for him. He knows the watches. He knows what's a Richard Mille, what's not. I didn't get him up to the exact details yet, but he shares my passion. And you know what I mean? The fact that he loves everything that I do makes you proud and gives you something to go. One day when I'm not here, and he'll have the watch collection and he'll have the cars, and he can appreciate what everything is. With Richard Mille, I'm sure you understand it's next to impossible to get anything nowadays. So when they told me that, my sales rep called me up. He says, "Are you sitting down?" I thought I did something wrong, right away. You imagine what happened. So I actually wasn't sitting down, but I told him I was, and he says, "You're getting a 65. I said, "Say it again. What'd you say?" Like I had to repeat it 3 times. It's like almost like someone telling you you're winning the lotto, And then on the last take, I was like, wow. And I still didn't believe what he was telling me. It wasn't until I actually went down and took delivery and just held it in my hands like a newborn. And I'm like, just wow and wow and wow. It's, anybody looking at me would think I'm like an overblown geek the way I was staring at the watch. But I fell in love again. And, it's one of probably my top piece of my collection right now. When I got the watch, I didn't even know how to set the time. So I had my sales rep at RM, Donald, had to tell me, come down, spend 30 minutes with me, showing me how to use everything, because it's very detailed. And I was so impressed that, I bought like one of those loops, literally just to take it and stare at the insides of the watch. And every time I get one of these and stare into the watch, I always see something new. So whether it's this one or the 67, and you really don't appreciate why these things cost so much until you learn about the engineering and truly see inside the movement and the detail. It takes them, I forgot the amount of time, something like 300 hours just to be able to roll that sapphire, and the type of punishment these things take. My guys from RM tell me, they're like, look, you could take this watch. He goes, don't do it now. He goes, but you can take this watch, toss it up in the air and let this thing hit the ground. Yeah, you can have some cosmetic damage, but this thing's going to keep going. That's the type of shock that it takes. Because, you can look inside of a Rolex. There's not much going on there. But when you look at a RM and you look at the insides and see the amount of time it takes these guys to put this thing together, and the precision it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's hard to believe people are still doing this nowadays, with everybody looking at their phones for the time, the guys still spending this type of, time to go into it. Incredible. When I was young, I bought a President and truly wanted the Platinum President. But because I didn't have the money for it, I took my regular President, put a blue face on it, a smooth bezel. And, I had an imitation Platinum. And that's why it's funny. I acquired this one just a couple of years ago. And even though I don't wear it as much, but because it symbolizes of what I didn't have back then, I said, I have to get this watch. It was always a childhood, dream of mine. And I said, once I was able to afford it, I got it. And then said, I'll never get rid of it. Keep it forever, So I've never purchased a watch based on value, because if you do that, you lose the passion. If you lose the passion and you look at it just as a investment point of view, to me it's kind of heartbreaking. And a lot of people do that. They'll search for a watch only because, it's worth X. I get a ton of people that say to me, oh, bring me the Richard Mille guy. I want to buy an 1103. Because they're looking at, okay, it's $150, it's worth $450. But number one, they as a company hate that, and I'm sure Patek, everyone else hates that. Patek, for example, they make a ton of watches, but everybody knows the Nautilus. Nobody knows about the Grand Complications and the Coventry. They don't know about that. Everybody knows Nautilus, and now the Aquanaut. But the main reason that they buy these things for is for the value. And it's a shame, because there's so many guys out there that buy watches and they flip them for money. And then the true people that want them for themselves, and love the watches, can't get them. And it's kind of a sin. So everything that I've bought, no, even my when my Rolex guy offered me, he goes, hey, do you I got a Daytona for you. Do you want the white face or you want the black face? So the white face, everyone knows, is worth so much money. But I said, no, I'd rather have the black, because to me, the black, molded into the black outside, gave the watch a impression of being a bigger face. For me, I'm a bigger guy. I said it's a perfect match. Even though the other one costs more money. I didn't look at it like that. So everything, like I said, has got a purpose for it. But I've never bought anything just from a dollar point of view. I gotta tell you, I don't really know where life's gonna take me. I mean, I've started from, really from nothing. Both my parents passed away at a very young age, so I had a younger brother and sister to take care of. I had my ups and downs where I did very well, and then something happened, and boom, and then did very well, and then boom, and then thank God back. I don't want to say on top, but I'm good. I'm comfortable. I mean, where life's gonna go, I don't know. I'm just riding the wave. But every day is an adventure. Every day is something cool. And, you just want to live to be happy. Stop and smell the roses. I'm at that point in my life. I started very late, I had my son when I was 42 years old. So, I was married once, didn't work out, engaged once, didn't work out, and then, found a great girl. But my happiness comes in peace. And, a lot of people don't understand that, because for me to come home and just relax and unwind, to me is happiness. Not having that amount of headaches at that moment. But there's nothing right now that I would say I need more. In other words, another watch gonna make me happy? No. Or another car is gonna make me happy? They make everything's all makes you happy. But nothing's gonna bring me to that next plane of existence where I say I made it. In other words, if I died tomorrow, I'm good. I just want family being taken care of, my friends to remember me as always a smiling, happy guy, and take it as that. I think that's it.